Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, Food, Wine, and Whiskey. I am Rob, and tonight we are doing something sweet on a sheet. That was kind of funny, wasn't it? Yeah, sweet on a sheet. Texas sheet cake is what we're making tonight. If you've never had this, never heard of it, stick around. It's really a great dessert, very simple to make, and a process you may not be familiar with for making a cake. Let's go. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to do here first. And you're going, man, okay, I think cake, I don't think burner and saucepan, but it's a part of this, this recipe, this technique for making this cake. It works, and we're gonna go through how it works. Okay, I don't know why it's called the Texas sheet cake. We're living in Texas, I'll be honest. I never heard of this in Texas. I grew up in Missouri, and it's a very popular dessert at little family gatherings and backyard barbecues and things like that. Always had a Texas sheet cake. I've lived in Texas more than 20 years and never known anybody to make a Texas sheet cake. Maybe I'm just not hanging out with the right people. But it's absolutely a delicious dessert. So let's get into what we're gonna need to make this. And then we'll start talking about the technique, because as you see here, we got a burner and a saucepan, and it's not very often you think burner and saucepan when you're making a cake. But for this one, we need it, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. We've got flour and sugar. We've got some baking soda and some salt, and eggs, some buttermilk, some vanilla, some butter, water, some cocoa that we're going to use in this cake. That's where the chocolate's going to come from. And this is the cake portion of the cake. And then we're gonna make a frosting, and we got over here, we'll get into this in just a bit. We got some more butter, some more cocoa, and just an enormous amount of powdered sugar. And if that doesn't scream delicious, I mean, 4 cups powdered sugar going on a cake, come on, you know that's gonna be good. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. For the frosting, first the cake. Okay, so it's really simple. It's kind of cool. I like this process, the steps that you have. It's a 3-part process in making a Texas sheet cake. And not one of the steps, but one of the things we need to do is just get a sheet pan out, right? And we're just gonna grease that up. I'm using olive oil. I think you can use canola, whatever kind of oil you want. You could probably use butter if you wanted to. And I go a little heavy with the oil because I just hate for cakes to stick. Could probably use some Crisco or whatever you want, some kind of a fatty, greasy kind of product to get this lubricated. Not gonna say it. And we're gonna set that off to the side. Okay. Then we're gonna take our dry ingredients. And by the way, I'm gonna have all of the exact measurements. I'll talk about them as we kind of go through it, but I'll have all the exact measurements in the description down below so you can have all the ingredients of what you need. But we're gonna have 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar, and we're gonna start mixing our dry ingredients. So I've got a bowl here. We're just gonna dump that in. 2 cups of sugar going in. Move some of this out of the way. Then I've got 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and then I've got a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt's what I'm using. That's gonna go in, and that is all of our dry ingredients. And then all we're going to do is just really just mix this together until it's incorporated really well. Okay, that's looking pretty good. We're just gonna set that off to the side. I'll leave that whisk in there for later. And then what we are going to do is take some wet ingredients, and all that is going to be is our buttermilk, our eggs, and a little bit of vanilla. And we're gonna mix that into another bowl. I've got that bowl right here. Small whisk. Let me get a napkin. As a matter of fact, I'll just use one of these for right now. Both our eggs in. By the way, the cocoa I'm using is this Hershey's Cocoa, unsweetened. They have a special dark one if you like that darker chocolate. I use a little bit of both sometimes, but today just the kind of the regular natural unsweetened chocolate cocoa. Eggs in, Gonna go with our buttermilk next. Then about a teaspoon of vanilla. And I just eyeball this. You can measure it if you want to. If I get a little extra vanilla, not gonna hurt my feelings. I'll be perfectly fine with that. And I think everybody who eats this will be perfectly fine with that. So vanilla in. We'll need this again in a little bit when we make our frosting. So we'll set that right over here. All we're going to do now, just kind of whisk this together. All right, we're gonna set that to the side. In fact, let me put that over here. Now we're gonna get to the burner, what we're doing here. So let's turn this on. Put this kind of on a medium low. I don't want it too hot. I don't want to burn the butter. We're gonna have 2 sticks of butter, which equal 1 cup. I'm using the half stick, so I've got 4. But we're gonna go ahead and undo these. Let's throw them in. And I'm telling you, this cake goes a long way too. When you think about a sheet pan, how big that pan is, you get a lot of, depending on how big a piece you like, you get a lot of pieces out of that cake. So it's really you know, when you heard me say we do it for family gatherings or barbecues or things like that, so easy to make and goes a long way. So it's just kind of the perfect kind of dessert for a get together. Now, right when I started, I went ahead and fired up the oven to 350 to get that on, so it's nice and warm when we get ready to, you know, pour our batter into the sheet pan and get this baking for about 15, 20 minutes. I always hit that 17 and then I check it. So butter is melting nicely here. Yeah, butter is looking good. Starting to just slightly bubble, so I'm going to get ready to whisk this a little bit, and then we'll get the chocolate in, the cocoa, and then we'll start to put in the water, and you guys will see this come together really nicely. And then from there, it's gonna go really quick. All right, we've got this butter melting. So I'm gonna let this, I want a few of these pieces to melt just a little bit more. So I don't want this to kind of clump up on that butter. So I want it to be completely melted, those 2 sticks. All right, we're completely melted. We're gonna go ahead and put in our cocoa. And then we're just going to mix this together really well. Then we have our 1 cup of water. I measured this out and then put it into a plastic cup. So do it however you like. You can use a measuring cup and do it, but 1 cup of water. And we're gonna get this, we want it to get to just before a boil. So we're gonna turn that heat up just a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and pour our water in. So you can see how fast this goes. Once we get this, I'm just going to talk you kind of through, got some chocolate right there. Just going to kind of talk you through what we're going to do. So we've got our wet ingredients, our dry ingredients, and what we're making here in the saucepan. Once this comes to that kind of slight, I don't want to call it a boil, but we're just before a boil. We're starting to just start to bubble. We're going to kind of take it off. We're going to pour it into our dry ingredients, get it incorporated really well, finish with our wet ingredients, and that's going to be our cake batter. And we're going to get ready to put that into the sheet pan. That's how simple this is. All right, we are there. All right, we're going to take that off, slide this out of the way, bring over our dry ingredients. So you can see what that looks like. We're just going to pour this in. And I've got a rubber spatula. I'm just going to get all this out. And then we're just going to mix this together. Tell you, easy cake to make. Doesn't take long as far as prepping before it goes into the oven. And honestly, you know, you talk about 15, 20 minutes to cook this. Doesn't take long to cook it. And while it's cooking, we're going to make that frosting. So, okay, you can see how nice and smooth that is looking. So, all right, let's go with our wet ingredients. the buttermilk, the butter, and the vanilla. And then we'll get this in. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we're putting this right into our greased up sheet pan, and we're ready to bake, everybody. All right, we got our sheet pan here. We're just going to take our batter. I do try to you get some bubbles in there from that whisking, that air in there. I just try to pop those a little bit, and I'll do a little bit more of that as we get it in here. But all you're going to do is just put her in. Michael's, never mind. My wife says that's getting old. I don't know, just never gets old with me. Okay, we're just gonna let this kind of settle, kind of even out. I hope my counter's even. It should be pretty level. I got a few bubbles. I'm gonna grab a little skewer, see if we can pop some of the bigger ones, kind of make those little ones go away. I don't want this to pop and then have like little pockets. I want it to be a nice smooth cake, so let's grab that. Tell you what, if that's not a bubble popping device, I don't know what is. So I'm just gonna go in here and just some of these bigger bubbles, just kind of pop them and let that batter just kind of fill in before it bakes. Okay, our oven's at 350, so we're gonna get ready to put this in and let her go about 17 minutes, 15 to 20, depending on ovens. Ovens are different. I've cooked this a few times, so I know in my oven, 17 is kind of my sweet spot, but 15 to 20 minutes. If it's your first time making it in your oven, I'd check it at 15, see where you're at. But it shouldn't take no more than 20 minutes to get this cooked. Let's put her in. We'll be right back. We'll start the frosting. All right, we got about, looks like just at 12 minutes left for the cake to bake. So let's get started on this frosting. All right, we're on to the frosting. And, again, I don't know why they call this Texas sheet cake. It probably should be called saucepan sheet cake because we're back to the saucepan. So frosting time. Here's what we're going to do. 1 stick of butter, so half a cup. We got some vanilla again, or 4 tablespoons of cocoa again. So we're going to put that in. And then, the glorious 4 cups of confectionate sugar that just makes this cake sing and makes it absolutely delicious. A few tablespoons of buttermilk just to kind of get it creamy and nice and rich. But let's get started. Let's get our burner on. And we'll get our butter going in the saucepan again. Kind of the same thing. What we're going to do is get this butter melted, add in our cocoa, get that going, and then we're going to start to work in our confectionate sugar, and we'll add a little bit of milk as we go. You can use whole milk if you want. I'm using buttermilk just to kind of give it that zing, that little zesty zing of buttermilk. But whole milk would be fine. Heavy cream, I think, would be fine. Anything like that, any kind of milk dairy product should be fine. I say should. It'll be fine. All right, this butter is melting. I'm just going to kind of whip her. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I don't want that butter to brown. Just want it to melt, so I don't need to go too quick. What do I got? I still got 9 minutes. I'm good. This doesn't take long. All in for this cake, I'm telling you. To get it, prepped in the oven, out of the oven, and this frosting on there, 35, 40 minutes total time. All right, our butter's looking good. Everything's melted there. We're going to go in with our cocoa. Doing that, I may have got a little butter on splash of something in the front. No, not too bad. All right. Start to go in with our confectionate sugar. You're going to see this kind of tighten up, but that's where the milk comes in, whatever you're using. Those tablespoons, a little bit goes a long way. It's not going to take much milk. That's why I've got a total of probably 5 to 6 tablespoons that go in here to make this nice and, you know what a frosting looks like. It's going to make it look like a frosting. So let's keep this going. more powdered sugar. The last thing we're going to put in here would be our vanilla. I'm going to go ahead and go with a little bit of buttermilk. Now it's going good. Go a little bit more of our powdered sugar. A little bit more of our buttermilk. And that should be the end of our buttermilk. I went about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 on each pour. We'll see where we're at. Oh yeah. I'm whisking it just to try to break up any clumps. We want this to be nice and smooth as we pour this over the cake. And you know, we're not going to wait long when that cake comes out. It's going to come out, sit for about a minute, and then we're going to get ready to pour this on while it's hot. That's going to get it to kind of, part of this to seep into the cake and add some more flavor. All right, I'm going to let this just kind of, again, you want it to come to just a slight boil. You know, and what that does, we all know, you know, as it cools down, it's going to tighten up. As it heats up, it's going to thin out a little bit. We want it to be a little thinner when we pour it. And then as it cools down, it'll tighten up and get a little hard. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to go ahead and add our teaspoon of vanilla. Oh yeah, she liked that. Give me a little, I like that. Thank you for the vanilla. All right, now let's just thin it up. So we got about 4 minutes left. And this is, you can see that this is getting nice and thinned out. We got about 3 minutes, 2.5, 3 minutes left. Let this just get a little bit more heat. I'm going to pull her off, let her sit over here. She'll be fine, nice and warm until we get ready to put it on the cake. All right, timer's going off, cake's done. Let's pull her out. Let's put her right here. Let's see what we got. Well, it smells good. I'll tell you that much. Craziest thing, I don't know why it keeps doing it. The last couple of cakes I've cooked like this, I don't know if you can tell, but we are higher over here. I put this in level. I mean, you saw me, it's level. But you can see that it just kind of goes. I guess maybe my oven, I probably need to change the glides and get that level, but it looked like it was level in there. Anyway, it's going to eat just fine. All right, all we're going to do is just kind of take this frosting, and I'm going to start, I know you can't see this well, but I'm going to pour back here. And you're just going to go slow and let this just kind of fill in. It doesn't take long for this to cool as far as the frosting. It's going to take it 15-20 minutes for the cake. And just kind of let this go everywhere. Kind of like my last one. Doesn't end up being the prettiest thing, but fun to make, simple to make, eats really well, and as you can see by the size of this, can feed a lot of people. Hey, thanks for stopping in on this episode. Really enjoyed making this Texas sheet cake. Hope you guys make it. Let me know in the comments if you've made this before. If you live in Texas and you've made this before, I'm really curious because, again, been in Texas 20 years, never seen it made here anywhere. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Huge for us. Like the video. Comment if you got a comment down below. I know it's not the prettiest cake, but again, it's going to eat well, and I enjoy doing this. So hope to see you guys on the next one. Enjoy doing this one. Have a great night, everybody.